Ladies, let me tell you something. The world doesn't like you to hear. A woman can be stunning, successful, and sweet, and still be undervalued by a man. Not because she's not enough, but because she keeps doing things that quietly teach him to treat her like she's less. You ever wonder why he suddenly pulled away? Why he stopped texting first? Why he doesn't treat you like a queen anymore? It's not always about what he did. Sometimes it's about what you allowed. So, if you're tired of shrinking to fit into his life, or breaking your own heart, trying to keep someone who isn't keeping you, listen up. These 5 habits, they're silent killers. Not of love, but of your value in his eyes. And once your value drops, respect, loyalty, and effort walk right out the door. You wake up late and the first word out of your mouth is sorry. You bump into someone slightly, sorry. You voice your opinion in a room full of people and immediately follow it with, sorry, that's just my thought. Why? Why are you apologizing for existing? Let me tell you something. With all the power and truth I've got, when a woman constantly apologizes, she slowly erodes her own presence. She trains the world to see her as uncertain, as unsure, as someone who needs permission just to be herself. And trust me, no man, no matter how kind he may seem, values what he doesn't have to work to understand or respect. When you keep saying sorry for being late once, but not addressing the real reason you're stretched too thin, you're not being polite. You're burying yourself alive under the weight of expectations you were never meant to carry alone. Think about this. A man forgets to call. He shrugs. You miss his call. You apologize 10 times like you committed a crime. Why is his forgetfulness acceptable, but your humanity a fault? In daily life, we've turned apologies into currency for love. You burn yourself cooking dinner after a long workday. The meal isn't perfect. And your first words are, sorry, it's not better. But did you ever realize that effort doesn't need an apology? It needs to be honored. There was a woman I knew who apologized every time she expressed her needs in a relationship. Sorry, I just wanted to know where this is going. Sorry, I get emotional sometimes. And you know what that man heard? He didn't hear love. He heard weakness. Not because she was weak, but because she labeled her emotions as mistakes. Her vulnerability became a whisper instead of a roar. And when a woman whispers her worth, she invites the world to overlook it. And it's not just in relationships. It's at work. You give a brilliant idea in a meeting and still say, sorry if that sounds silly. You're not being humble, you're dimming a light the world desperately needs. You want to inspire people? Walk into a room and own your thoughts. Speak and believe you have value. Because confidence isn't volume, it's conviction. And conviction never apologizes for taking space. Let's talk about when you apologize just for asking questions. Like the time you couldn't find an item in a store and you said, sorry, could you help me? Why sorry? You're a paying customer. Or when you're on a date and the waiter gets your order wrong and you say, sorry, but I actually ordered this. That's not sorry worthy. That's called speaking up. Every single time you say sorry for being real, raw, emotional, tired, busy, ambitious, bold, you're telling yourself, I am too much. And guess what? You're not too much. You've just been surrounded by people who never deserved your depth in the first place. The right people, especially the right man, will not run from your strength. He will rise to meet it. A man doesn't fall in love with a woman who erases herself. He falls for the woman who walks in, knows who she is, and doesn't tremble when she says it out loud. That kind of woman? She doesn't say sorry for her feelings. She says, thank you for your time, and walks away if it's not valued. You're not here to apologize for having a heartbeat, a voice, a past, or a purpose. You're not too much. You're the exact dosage required to wake the world up. If anyone ever makes you feel like you're hard to love, maybe it's not you. Maybe it's just that you've been apologizing so long, you forgot how powerful it feels to simply be. You reply in seconds. You pick up on the first ring. You cancel your plans when he texts, "What are you doing tonight?" And deep down, you call that love. You call that loyalty. But let me give you the truth that stings before it sets you free. Always being available does not make you valuable. It makes you predictable. It makes you accessible. And worst of all, it makes you easy to take for granted. You think showing up instantly will make him see your worth. But in reality, it teaches him that you're always there. And anything that's always there becomes invisible. Think about your phone. You hold it every day. It's there in your hand, in your pocket, on your pillow. But do you sit and admire it every hour? No, you only notice it when it's gone. That's human nature. We value presence only when we've tasted absence. There was a woman I knew who never said no. He'd text her at 1 a.m. and she'd be there. Not because she wanted to, but because she thought if she didn't, he'd lose interest. Guess what? He did anyway. Why? Because there was no mystery, no excitement, no energy to chase. A man doesn't chase what's already in his lap. He chases what makes him rise, what challenges his ego, what makes him question whether he's even worthy of her. You keep replying fast, and he starts replying slower. You keep adjusting, and he becomes rigid. You keep showing up, and he starts disappearing. It's not your effort that's the problem. It's that you've sold your effort at a discount price. If your energy is always on sale, he'll never pay full price for your presence. Let me take you to a daily example. Your friend calls, you pick up. Every time. Even when you're drained. One day, you miss the call, and she says, "Wow, are you okay? Because you always pick up." You've built an expectation that your time doesn't belong to you. It belongs to everyone else. And when you finally take it back, people think something's wrong. That's not balance. That's self-abandonment, dressed as kindness. In a relationship, availability should be earned, not assumed. When a man knows that no matter what he does, you'll still be there. There's no reason for him to grow, no reason to correct his behavior, no reason to value your time. Your constant presence becomes his permission to become complacent. He starts forgetting dates, stops complimenting you, starts giving less because you trained him to believe your love doesn't need effort in return. And don't get me wrong, being loving, supportive, and caring is a beautiful strength. But when it becomes a reflex, instead of a choice, it turns into a trap. You stop living your life. You stop saying yes to you. You skip the gym, delay your dreams, ignore your own friends, all to keep a man who's barely giving you a full sentence in return. You think being constantly present shows loyalty? No. Real loyalty is mutual. It's not just about how fast you show up. It's about whether he's showing up too. When you're always available, he stops asking if you're okay because you've shown him that your needs don't matter. But they do. Your time matters. Your peace matters. You should not be a woman who's always waiting. You should be a woman they wait for, even in texting. Don't reply every second. Take your time. Let him wonder. Let him miss you. Let him realize that your world doesn't revolve around his message. Because when a man sees that your life is full, that your time is sacred, that your attention is a privilege, not a guarantee. He'll start treating you like a woman he has to earn, not one he can borrow anytime he feels bored or lonely. He raises his voice, you stay silent. He makes a rude joke at your expense, you laugh it off. He ignores your message for hours, days even. And when he finally replies, you say, it's okay, I understand. But do you really understand? Or have you just become fluent in the language of self-betrayal, all in the name of keeping the peace? Let me say this with fire in every word. Peace without respect is not peace. It's emotional slavery. And the longer you keep tolerating it, the louder your soul will scream in silence. A man who disrespects you and still receives your softness learns that your boundaries are negotiable, that your dignity is flexible, and that your silence is a permission slip to keep crossing lines he should never have touched in the first place. There was a woman I once knew. Beautiful, intelligent, accomplished. But every time her partner insulted her in front of friends, she would swallow her pride and say, he didn't mean it that way. Every time he criticized her dreams, she'd nod and change the subject. One day I asked her, why do you let him do that to you? She said, because I don't want to fight. I just want peace. And I looked her in the eyes and said, but at what cost? You're not in peace. You're in pieces. We have been conditioned, especially as women, to believe that our job is to be the glue that holds everything together, even if it means holding our breath and biting our tongue. But let me remind you of this. A queen who shrinks herself to fit into a toxic kingdom loses both her crown and her freedom. You were not made to be small. You were not made to be polite at the cost of your power. Look at the everyday moments. He talks over you in a conversation, and you let it go. He flirts with another woman in front of you, and you convince yourself you're just being too sensitive. He mocks your insecurities, and you laugh so he doesn't feel uncomfortable. That's not love. That's a silent war, where only one side is bleeding, and it's you. Real peace doesn't come from pretending everything is fine. Real peace comes when you say, this is not okay, I will not accept this, I deserve better. It's in those brave, shaky moments of truth-telling that your power returns. And yes, it may shake the relationship. Yes, he might get upset. But that's not your problem. His discomfort with your boundaries is not your responsibility to fix. You're not hard to love. You're just finally loving yourself enough to stop accepting half-hearted affection wrapped in disrespect. You're not asking for too much. You're just done accepting too little. And if your voice shaking is what it takes to set a new standard, then let it shake. Let it echo through every room that once silenced you. Imagine this. You're at dinner. He makes a snide comment about your outfit. Instead of brushing it off, you look him in the eye and say, that wasn't kind. Don't speak to me like that. Or you cancels on you last minute for the third time. And instead of saying, it's okay, you say, I value my time and I won't be treated like a backup plan. That is what claiming your worth looks like. Not drama, not rage, just truth, firm and unapologetic. Because here's the raw reality. What you tolerate becomes the template for how people treat you. Every time you let disrespect slide, you train him to believe it's acceptable. Every time you prioritize the illusion of harmony over your own mental health, you lose a piece of your inner queen. And let me tell you, a woman who chooses herself, who draws a line in the sand and says no more, that woman is unstoppable. That woman is not just respected, she is unforgettable. You meet him, he smiles, he listens, and before you know it, your life story is pouring out of your mouth like a waterfall with no dam. You tell him about your childhood trauma, your broken friendships, your worst heartbreak, your deepest fears, your hidden insecurities. All in the name of connection. You think, if I'm real, if I'm vulnerable, he'll understand me, he'll love me faster. But here's the truth no one dares to say out loud. Oversharing too soon is not vulnerability. It's emotional exposure without earned intimacy. You wouldn't hand over your house keys to a stranger just because he smiled at your door, would you? Then why hand in the keys to your soul just because he asked, "So, what's your story?" Vulnerability is beautiful, but only when it's protected by discernment. Because not every listener is a keeper. Some are collectors of your weakness, and they'll hold your pain like ammunition, not compassion. Let's talk real life. You go on a first date. It's going well. Then suddenly you're telling him about your dad who abandoned you, your ex who cheated, the best friend who betrayed you. You're hoping he'll see how much you've been through and say, "Wow, you're so strong." But instead, what he sees is someone searching for safety in a stranger. And here's what most don't realize. When you reveal your scars too early, you give people the power to poke them before they've earned the right to even see them. There's a woman I knew, heart of gold, soft as sunrise. On her third date, she opened up about her past toxic relationship. She cried, she thought they connected. But days later when they argued, he said, "You're acting just like you did in that last relationship you cried about." And in that moment she realized her vulnerability had been weaponized, not held, not honored, just stored for future manipulation. You don't owe your life story to anyone who hasn't proven their intentions. Let them earn your layers. Let them show consistency before they get clarity. A man's interest is not a license to unlock your entire emotional archive. It's an invitation to observe, to reflect, to pace yourself. Because the right man will respect your silence just as much as your stories. He won't rush your trust. He'll wait for the day you say, "There's something I want to share," not the hour you feel desperate to feel understood. Imagine this. You're interviewing for your dream job. You don't walk in and start crying about how hard your last boss was on you. No. You hold yourself with grace, power, and quiet confidence. You speak with clarity. You don't lie, but you don't overshare. You protect your narrative. So why don't we treat our hearts with the same respect? Oversharing often comes from a place of people-pleasing. A deep-rooted fear that if we don't spill our soul, we won't be loved for who we are. But here's the paradox. The more you reveal too soon, the less space you give someone to truly discover you. Mystery is not manipulation. It's maturity. It's knowing that your story is sacred and not everyone deserves to sit front row without earning a seat. Hold some parts back, not because you're hiding, but because you're healing. Not because you're cold, but because you're conscious. Because once your truth is out, it cannot be unspoken. And once the wrong person hears it, you may never get the version of yourself back that you sacrificed in the name of openness. You are not a diary. You are not a confessional booth. You are a layered, complex, powerful woman with oceans inside you. Let them swim in the shallow end first. See if they can breathe, if they are sincere, if they stay. Then, and only then, can they be invited to dive deep into your truth. You said you'd never settle. You made a promise to yourself. I won't accept breadcrumbs. I want real love. But here you are, replying to a wide dick text at 2 a.m., letting him back in after he ghosted you for days, dressing or speaking or behaving in ways that don't even feel like you, just to keep his interest. Slowly, without realizing, you started shrinking your standards just for the sake of attention. And let me tell you, attention is not affection, and presence does not equal intention. There is a price to pay when you lower your standards just to be seen. That price is your self-worth. And trust me, it's far too expensive. Because when you bend your values for a temporary thrill, you end up betraying the very woman you're trying to become. Ask yourself, what kind of love are you attracting when you become someone else to receive it? I remember a girl who swore she'd never date someone who didn't respect her time. But then came the guy who'd call last minute, ask her to meet him with no plan, cancel dates without apology, and she'd still show up. Why? Because at least he's thinking of me, she'd say. And I told her gently, sweetheart, a man thinking of you at his convenience is not a man building with you. He's passing time, not pursuing you. You think bending your standards makes you more likable, more lovable, more easygoing. But the truth is, when you lower the bar just to be chosen, you teach people that choosing you requires no effort. They won't value you because you've shown them you don't value yourself enough to hold the line. Look around in your daily life. A woman goes out with a man who openly flirts with others. She laughs it off, hoping she looks cool. Another woman accepts being in a situationship because he just isn't ready for a relationship. One more stops talking about her goals because he finds ambition intimidating. And every time you do this, every time you dim your light, you're screaming silently, please like me, even if it's not the real me. But what is the cost of being liked by someone who doesn't know your worth? You wake up one day and realize you're exhausted, not from love, but from performing. And performance is the enemy of peace. You weren't born to audition for love. You are not a backup plan. You are not a second choice. You are not a maybe. You are a woman of value. And value doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It doesn't compromise for crumbs. Say this with your whole chest. I would rather be alone with my standards intact than accompanied by someone who only values me when I'm silent, small, or submissive. If he walks away because you asked for respect, he did you a favor. If he loses interest because you didn't play games, thank the universe. Because the man who is truly for you will not be intimidated by your boundaries. He'll be inspired by them. You do not have to prove your worth by lowering yourself. Raise your standards and watch who rises to meet them. The ones who truly care won't just chase your beauty. They'll protect your soul. They'll admire your mind. They'll respect your boundaries. Because when a man sees a woman standing tall in her power, he knows this is not someone to toy with. This is someone to build with. So walk with your head high, even if it means walking alone for a while. You're not alone. You're in alignment. And alignment is always more powerful than attention. You cook for him, clean his apartment, send good morning and good night text, support his dreams, listen to his problems, show up for him like a rock. Yet when someone asks, are you two together? He says, we're just talking. You play the role of a girlfriend without the honor of the title, hoping your loyalty will convince him to see your worth. But hear this loud and clear. You don't audition for love. Either you're chosen or you're not. Being consistent in someone's life does not automatically earn you a place in their future. Because when a man can enjoy the full course meal of your love without ever ordering commitment off the menu, He'll eat as long as you serve. He has no reason to change the situation when he benefits from the arrangement exactly as it is. There was a woman who used to drive 3 hours just to see a guy who wouldn't even return her texts the next day. She bought him gifts. She helped him with his business. She even skipped out on her own family gatherings to be by his side. And every time her friends asked, "Are you guys together?" she'd smile and say, "Not officially, but it's headed there." What she didn't realize is, if it was really headed there, it would have arrived already. You're not building a connection, you're building a fantasy. A hope that if you show him how good you are, you'll finally decide you're enough. But the real ones, they don't need a trial run. They don't need to test your heart to know it's gold. They claim you with clarity, not confusion. They speak with certainty, not silence. In daily life, we don't act like employees and then hope to be hired after 6 months of unpaid labor. No. We expect contracts, titles, terms. Why is love any different? Why do we overextend ourselves emotionally, mentally, even physically for someone who can't even define us with a single word? You are not a placeholder. You are not the warm-up act before he finds the one he wants to commit to. If he gets all of you, your time, your energy, your care, without giving you the dignity of clarity, you're not winning his love. You're just losing yourself. So many women mistake effort for value. They think if they do more, give more, sacrifice more, it will prove they're girlfriend material. But being girlfriend material isn't about how much you can give. It's about how much you're willing to protect your own peace. You are not here to prove your worth by overserving someone who's unsure about you. You are here to receive the kind of love that doesn't make you question if you're enough. Stop playing wife to a man who won't even call you his girlfriend. Stop shrinking into silence, hoping he'll one day realize what he has. Love is not a scavenger hunt for clues in someone's behavior. If he wanted to commit, he would have. If he wanted to claim you, he wouldn't be sending mixed signals. Clarity is a love language, and confusion is a red flag disguised as taking it slow. You deserve a title. You deserve consistency. You deserve to feel secure, not replaceable. And until someone sees that and acts accordingly, don't offer girlfriend privileges to someone who hasn't even earned the label of man in your life. Give your loyalty to someone who's loyal to you. Give your heart to someone who doesn't leave you guessing. And above all, give yourself permission to walk away when your worth is being discounted in the name of patience. Because real love doesn't keep you in limbo. It meets you with clarity, commitment, and honor. Let this be the moment where you stop shrinking, stop doubting, stop settling. This is your awakening. You are not just a woman. You are the storm that rearranges the room without even speaking. You are not here to be tolerated, to be an option, to be almost loved. You are here to be honored, to be respected, and to be remembered. And if someone can't give you that, let them watch you walk away. Because a woman who knows her worth doesn't chase. She chooses. There is a version of you that the world hasn't met yet. The version of you that no longer waits for a man to validate her worth. She doesn't explain her boundaries. She doesn't soften her standards just to be more lovable. She is fierce, not because she's loud, but because she's clear. She doesn't beg for consistency, she expects it. And when someone offers her confusion, silence, or half love, she says, "Thank you, but I've met myself, and I know what I deserve." Remember this, you teach people how to treat you by what you allow. If you keep overgiving, overcompensating and overcompensating in the hope that someone will one day value you, you'll wake up empty. Your value doesn't increase based on how much of yourself you sacrifice. You don't have to bleed to prove you love. You don't have to break to be chosen. You don't have to lower your standards to keep anyone around. What's meant for you will meet you at your standards, not your suffering. So stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Stop showing loyalty to people who can't even offer you clarity. Stop pouring into cups that never even try to refill yours. Because the more you abandon yourself to keep others, the more you teach your own heart that it doesn't matter. Listen to me. You are not too much. You're not too sensitive. You're not too demanding. You're just finally done settling for less than what you were created for. And that makes people uncomfortable. But your job is not to be digestible. Your job is to be undeniable. The world told you to be quiet, to play small, to be nice, even when it hurts. But I'm telling you, the day you stop apologizing for your standards,